Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Sue, your East Oakland advocate. Well, the U.S. government is looking for a new place to set up a new submarine base here on the West Coast. And the Bay Area still has some available property. And even though it's been kind of turned over to the city, uh, it hasn't been redeveloped or actually even touched to a point where it's significant. And so restoring two sites, possibly one of two sites, as a submarine uh, base and also a submarine shipyard, building and maintenance. And for building and maintenance, we actually had Mare Island up in Vallejo for a long, long time, and they created a lot of submarines up there. And in fact, I remember my dad telling me about one submarine that was launched up there, and it never floated. Yep, it went straight to the bottom of the straits there, and it was recovered by the Navy and scrapped after that. But anyway, Hunter's Point also is another very good, viable possibility uh, for a submarine, a nuclear submarine base, and also shipyard for that. Because Hunter's Point is quite a large area. I believe it was over 320 acres on that site. My dad worked there and gained his apprenticeship uh, for ship fitter uh, in the civil service portion for the repair of the military ships. My dad worked specifically on the submarines and aircraft carriers, and the his field was very specialized, and so uh, even if the government decides to fund and restart a submarine base right here in the Bay Area, specifically Hunters Point or Mare Island, that could create a lot of new, really good living wage jobs for the Bay Area economy. And typically, Mare Island had a personnel of nearly 15,000 people that worked 24 hours. Uh, at Hunter's Point, the number was very similar. My dad, if I remember right, was shop 15, which was the ship fitter shop. And ship fitters are very, very specialized um, workers, and they're high precision workers. And so that's the difference. Uh, Filling the roles for plumbing, for electricians, and many welding. A lot of the jobs that also currently exist should not be that difficult to fill because students coming out of community colleges or even seeking apprenticeships, the shipyards can provide those apprenticeships to teach the workforce of the future. My dad was one of those. When he came back from the Korean War, he took full advantage of his GI Bill. He was not a citizen yet, but he was on the road to citizenship, and my dad actually became a U.S. citizen in 1962. I found the paperwork after he had uh, passed away when I was clearing out his stuff, and so anyway, he spent 2 years as an apprentice, and then before that, he went to school right there at the shipyards for 2 years before that, so that he could get the mathematics and the schooling that was necessary for his particular trade in the shipyard. And that's going to be the same thing uh, if and when this does take place. If it's at Hunter's Point or at Mare Island, makes no difference. These are going to be very, very good government jobs. These are blue-collar jobs, and the best thing about them is that they're civil service, and the pay is very good, very, very good. Benefits are excellent, and you have a pension from the government, and so it's a different type of work, and a very necessary government type work. There's national security clearances. My dad had some of the lower level national security clearances because, number one, he worked on submarines and aircraft carriers, and number three, he was cleared for nuclear work because he worked on the nuclear submarines and the nuclear aircraft carrier at the time. That was the Enterprise. And so he worked on some of the most top secret ships and submarines that our government has. And right now, there's only one base. It's on the East Coast, and it's antiquated. And that's why our government is looking for something here for the West Coast, because there's a lot of West Coast threats. When you look at the Pacific Ring of Fire, all the Asian nations that are within that ring of fire, also Russia is there, China is there, North Korea is there, and several others. And so anyway, that's why the need for a submarine base and a submarine shipyard, maintenance yard is necessary, because there's no more room in San Diego, which is for the Pacific Fleet. That's our ship fleet. That's our aircraft carriers, our destroyers, and other naval ships. And then the other naval base that we have on the West Coast is up in Bremerton, Washington. And so that leaves a vast area of the West Coast exposed. And that goes all the way out to Hawaii, where that's where our other naval base is, Pearl Harbor. So restoring a naval base, specifically a submarine base, would be significant to the protection of the West Coast here, with given all the circumstances that are going on in the world currently. And that could be also the reason why the U.S. government is looking at restoring restoring a submarine base here on the West Coast, because we do have two bases for ships, but nothing for submarines here on the West Coast, not even Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor is not deep enough for a lot of our current submarines, and our bay is, because we have direct shipping channels, and the submarines would have to move along inside of those shipping channels because of the displacement that they have. But it could mean a lot of new jobs, a lot of really good paying jobs, restoration of a residency of blue collar work, not just for the white collar workers, but real good paying jobs for the blue collar workers, not just living, or not just minimum wage, but real living wage pay. And so we're talking $60, $65, $70 an hour for those shipyard workers, quite possibly. And that would be paid based upon the area. And so that would be a significant base here in the Bay Area. And if you look at the West Coast doesn't have a whole lot of options for setting up another military and specifically a submarine naval base. So the Bay Area is a prime and the only choice, realistically, that has the facilities, the bays, and the current infrastructure that could support submarine base. And that would bring in billions of dollars to the area in government funding. Jobs would be very plentiful. And so that would create a much better and much more stable region rather than depending solely upon the high-tech industry, which is what the Bay Area kind of has been doing for the last 30 years. So this would be, while some would look at this as a step backwards, I see it as a step forward and something that should never have actually left the Bay Area. We should have always maintained a naval base here on the West Coast, Midwest Coast, which is the Bay Area, and that would serve to protect all of our interests from the state of Washington down to the Mexico border, Baja California border, and then some. So I see this as a plus. What do you folks think? I think it's a good opportunity for the Bay to bring back a lot of good paying blue collar wage jobs. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.